Gender, culture, and nature have all endured oppression, exploitation, and destruction. But what does that mean for our world today? How has that brought our world to where it is, and what can we learn from those who have long fought for balance? Gender is a social construct that shapes roles, responsibilities, and opportunities, often leading to inequalities throughout history and in the present. According to the American Psychological Association, it refers to the socially constructed roles, behaviors, activities, and attributes that society deems appropriate for different genders. Culture is a set of traditions, beliefs, and customs that a group of people inherits from their history. Many cultures face risks due to colonization and globalization. The American Psychological Association defines culture as any socially definable group with its own set of values, behaviors, and beliefs, passed through one generation to another. This includes factors such as gender, ethnicity, sexual orientation, socioeconomic class, and the behaviors associated with them. Nature has many definitions, varying by perspective and cultural background. It encompasses the environment we live in, an ecosystem essential to our survival. However, human actions continue to pose a growing threat to its well-being every day.
Hello, my name is Galen from Hikianalia. Today's question is from V from BYU. Question is, what is the connection between the land and sea? And I think it's one and the same because in the olden days with the Ahapua'a, you got to take care of the land. That in turn takes care of yourself all the way down to the sea, from the mountain to the sea. And without that connection, we won't have no place to live on.
Within Indigenous and many traditional societies, there's been a strong connection between nature and people living within the nature, celebrating it and protecting it. Specifically in Hawaiian culture, the connection between land and sea is extremely sacred. The balance between land and sea represents a harmony needed to sustain life, and Native Hawaiian people have sustainably farmed, fished, and lived within the island for hundreds of years. In today's age, the island faces habitat loss, biodiversity loss, and land degradation from pollution and overconsumption.
On our way to find the key.
We get misled, I feel, in owning stuff. This is not mine. Aina, Wai, water, the ocean don't belong to nobody. We only here to steward it for our time being.
He's tiny.
So we're gonna pull all over here first. Once we're done here, we're gonna go to the top side. We understand the job. Ready?
Riding a wave is like suddenly gaining speed and gliding at the same time, like walking on water, like flying. I think it's really about being one with a natural phenomenon.
More so within Hawaii and the rest of the world, surf culture has been a major part of communities and identities. Unfortunately, women have fought to carve their space in surfing, a sport deeply intertwined with nature. Despite the barriers of surfing being made a male-dominated sport, we continue to challenge norms and reclaim the presence and connection in the ocean. Surfers often have a strong connection to the marine environment and a responsibility to protect it. The ocean can make you feel so unimportant and powerless, which teaches adults and kids to be mindful and remember you're in the middle of Mother Nature.
Interconnectedness between gender, culture, and nature lies within the history of Australian culture. Not only can we find koala bears and kangaroos across the continent of Australia, but also the world's oldest existing culture of Aboriginal people. For the Indigenous Australians, colonization and industrial expansion have stripped away many of their rights, leaving both people and nature vulnerable. For nearly 50,000 years, Australia has served as home to these ancient Indigenous people. However, with the initial invasion of the country in 1788, 11 ships from Great Britain arrived to what is now known as Botany Bay in New South Wales. When the British invaded Australia from 1788 onwards, they started what's known as a settler colony, ultimately affecting over 400 distinct Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander nations, each within their own cultures, languages, and laws, by stealing the natives' land. The foundation of Australia, including its laws and customs created during these times, are still in play today. Unfortunately today, because of these horrific injustices and destruction to their culture, societies, and land, 90% of their population declined between 1788 and 1900, heavily due to disease, violence, and displacement. We see those effects today, understanding that only about 3% of native Aboriginal people make up the Australian population, where culture, nature, and women continue to feel the negative effects.
To the bush with our parents, we felt free and we could wander anywhere we wanted to. There was no restrictions. At the mission, we had to abide by rules and regulations. I think I felt as though we were prisoners within our own land.
Basically, you either had to be black or white. You couldn't be brown or in the middle. Policemen or rangers would come, pull up, just grab these half-coloured kids or coloured kids and then chuck them in the truck and then take them.
18 or 19 years old and basically a prison.
Yeah, on an island.
Just for being born.
Yep, just for being born.
Thus, after a wave of environmental activism arose, so did the term ecofeminism, coined by a French feminist and activist, Françoise Daubon, in the 1970s. Ecofeminism integrates feminism and political ecology. Ecofeminist thinkers draw on the concept of gender to analyze relationships between humans and the natural world. The fight for nature is intertwined with the fight for women's rights. Ecofeminism highlights the shared oppression of women and the environment under patriarchal and capitalist systems. Statistically speaking, women and girls experience the greatest impact of climate change, which amplifies existing gender inequalities and poses unique threats to their livelihoods, health, and safety. Women, especially in developing countries, bear the brunt of climate disaster as water, food, and resources become scarce and their daily struggles intensify due to deforestation, water contamination, pollution, land degradation, and the list carries. Often results force women to walk for miles for water during droughts, famines, and when the families are displaced by rising sea levels. Waste and pollution from Western consumers. While one side of the world consumes, the other suffers. The spread is mass production, and consumer culture has deepened the environmental crisis. Overall, our planet is dying, and it directly links to the abuse women and culture have felt due to land degradation, pollution, industrial revolutions, overconsumption, and ecological systems, overfishing, and so on. We would need 1.77 planet Earths to sustain our current demand for resources and absorb our waste. This is referred to as global ecological overshoot. 12 million hectares of tropical rainforests are destroyed each year. That is around 30 football fields per minute. Every minute, the equivalent of one dump truck of plastic is dumped into oceans. 16 tons of sewage are dumped into American waters every 60 seconds. By 2050, there could be more plastic than fish in the ocean. By 2048, saltwater fish could run out if nothing changes. Half the world's coral reefs have died in the past 30 years. 1 in 4 species are at risk of extinction. Only 4% of mammals are wild. 36% of humans and 60% are livestock. 1 in 3 people globally do not have access to clean and safe drinking water, yet 30 to 40% of the food supply is wasted in the United States. Every 24 hours, up to 150 species are lost. That count amounts to around 10% less global diversity each decade. The International Organization on Migration estimates that up to 200 million people could be displaced by climate change by 2050, yet around 50% of all carbon emissions are created by the richest 10% of the world's population.
Overall, gender, culture, and nature are all intertwined. Although people of various roles, cultures, and nature have felt the abuse for years, we need to continue to stay educated, respect culture, and protect nature. We've created societies centered around celebrating urbanization and forgetting knowledgeable lessons of stewardship, preservation, and the value of nature. The land, the seas, and our communities are all interconnected. We must listen and change our ways before it's too late.